So the first thing I have for you, particularly Loren, is new data as of yesterday, courtesy of EV Adoption, your
Yeah.
company. It shows that EV sales in the U.S. continue to see a significant uptick. We're looking at 7.505% in Q2 of 2022, and that's EVs, PHEVs. So the overall question here is, how did we get there? How do we continue to pump these numbers higher? And surely there have been lessons learned. Definitely interested in hearing what you have to say about that.
Yeah, it's been fascinating in that, it's interesting is if, you go back and sort of peg the beginning of the modern era of EVs in the US, it's basically the end of 2010, when the Nissan Leaf and the Chevrolet Volt came out. And so we started at late 2010, if you will, with 0% EV sales share in America. And so as you mentioned, we passed 7%. And let me just to sort of define that so everybody understands what that is. So that means 7 out of every 100 new vehicles purchased in Q2 in the US was either a full BEV or a plug-in hybrid. And we're actually, if the pace that we saw in Q2 continues in Q3 and Q4, and it's questionable whether that will happen because of, the economy and inflation and the rising prices of EVs and supply chain issues and stuff like that. But if we do, we'd actually hit 9%. And so let's think about this from a historical perspective. In basically 12 years, we're going from 0 to 9%. We're going from 0 cars being basically purchased that are EVs to 9 out of 100. Now, in the next 8 years, by 2030, my forecast is that we actually could and should hit around 50%. Now, I wouldn't have said that 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was actually at about 30%. That's how quickly things have changed. So, in 12 years, we're basically going from 0 to 7 or 0 to 9, however you want to think about it. And then we're going to go another 40% in the next 8 years. And so, the growth is just, is finally starting to happen. I mean, we were only at 2% a couple years ago, and so it's starting to sort of double. But the reality is, and we'll get into this, is we're still actually in sort of the early adoption phase. We're in the phase still of people at higher incomes who are motivated to save the planet and want to go EV and stuff that are still sort of driving this. And so price increases, things like that, they still aspire to own an EV regardless of the fact that they're getting more and more expensive. And so the real issue, guys, becomes, like 4 years from now, something like that, right? When we start to hit more and more of the people in the South and the Midwest who are sort of late adopters, lower income, are there going to be the vehicles available, at the price point that they can afford?